Hi everyone, my name is Jenna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Jenna in Aquarius. So put some intro music there, right? Okay. Anyway, guys, oh my God, I can't talk right now. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you to everybody today, just everybody, for taking the time to watch this video. I am highly recommended to go ahead and do this video today because I know that there are many people who could benefit from this message. And though I can be funny and stuff like that, this is definitely going to be a very serious topic today, one that should really not be taken lightly. And one I hope that will really, if just one person can benefit from this video, then I have done my part. But I think there it's going to be a little bit more than that. So, and it's a serious topic. So, but yeah. So I'm kind of like now I'm freaking out because I was like, I wanted to do a video for you guys, but I didn't want to do like a paid card because this one is something different. So today's message is going to be to everybody who's ever, oh my gosh, I'm like, my heart. So today, I just want to address anybody and everybody who has ever at one point of their life or is still or has overcome the trauma, the notion this video is intended to reach out to everybody who has ever felt or has experienced in one point of their life or another in any sort of relationship dynamic, romantic, platonic, family, friends, co-workers, society, themselves, or because of life's experiences or their personal journeys, maybe pertaining to things that may or may not worked out in the way that they would have wished or hoped. Just the overall scheme of everything. This is to everybody who has convinced themselves that they were not worthy of receiving love. It took a lot to get out, guys. That they did not deserve good things for themselves. That they had convinced themselves that they will always be unlucky, or that everybody else would be lucky, or why do I never get to have the things I want, or just the overall feeling that there was something wrong with you. And that because of this feeling or this belief system, that you just didn't think that you were important enough or good enough or worthy enough or lovable enough, or that anybody noticed or cared about you. This is what today's video is about. And so it is going to be a very heavy and hard topic for some, but for others, this could be very enlightening, or this can be like affirming in some way, whether you've gone through this yourself or know somebody and have seen them overcome this, or, you know, seen them on the other side, or this is just simply good awareness and knowledge, because this is a very common problem and it is very sad. And I think that let's talk about it. So this is for you guys. So hopefully this is really well received. I am only doing this because this is going to be very beneficial for myself as well as for just one person, if I can just help out one person. And so primarily my YouTube channel is, or I like to base it off of like spirituality. So obviously like pick card readings are fun, but it's not what it's all about. It's about, you know, recognizing signs and synchronicities. It's about knowing your purpose or finding your purpose. It's about real talk, guys. It's about that. You know, this is about your spirit, you know, your soul, your essence. You are the light. Your light cannot be dimmed. And if it has ever been dimmed, whether it was intentionally done to you or not, this message, this video was made for you today to remind you that you are, in fact, none of those things. If you have not already recognized that, then this is all you need to know. And I don't have to know you, and I don't have to see you or anything to confirm this. And every single one of you out there are either very beautiful or very handsome, or you are just the essence of your unique being, and the world really needs you and will really miss you. And only you can be you, and you don't know how many lives you have touched and how many people really do care and love for you. Even if they don't say that, because it's a very hard thing to do nowadays. Okay? Now, this isn't just about like love. This is about just everything. Like romantic love, yes. Self-love, yes. Just worthiness, goodness, you guys, okay? So just anything that would make you ever question receiving anything less than what you deserve. Okay? And so why this is super important to me, because this is something that personally, many people in our lives, there's quite a lot of people. I mean, if you suffer from any insecurities, that's a sign of it. If you're always questioning things or doing this and that, there's plenty of different ways. And you know what? We're all human, and I'm thinking almost every single buddy at one point in their lives or another has experienced this in some aspect. I do hope that it was never done intentionally towards you. And, you know, even if this was, and that doesn't mean that the people are always bad who do that. You know, there are definitely people who do these things to hurt you, or they are intentional, and you will know the difference. It's sometimes it's just a person just simply not right for you. You know, that doesn't mean that they're always a bad person. It doesn't mean that they always intentionally wanted to make you feel this way. It's just simply you and them ultimately were not aligned spiritually. And it sucks when you can't see that right away. Or it sucks that you have to, feel unlovable and unworthy before you can reach that epiphany. And hey, we're all human. How do we learn, right? And so, this is something that, pretty confident person, open person for the most part. I have no problem going up to strangers or recording videos and stuff like that. Never really too much minded or cared what people think. It is an Aquarius trait. Sometimes I do kind of push the standard, push the envelopes in regards to social norms, but when it came to primarily like relationships and especially romantic relationships, I had seemed to not been able to be successful. And I was very much questioning always why, and at first you're young, it's all about experience. But when you become older and you do and done like a lot of the work on yourself and you have recognized a lot of the patterns and try to, fix them or address them, and you still find yourself either in the same, patterns or same kind of relationships or cycles, or you just find yourself not able to even attract one, you cannot help but feel like there's something wrong with you. And that is right there the number one problem, is the belief or the mindset that there is. And, it's okay to actually think that because it's human nature, but it's not. If you've actually done the work and it's just not happening for you, that is not because something you're doing wrong. So, and if you're able to recognize that it's not you, that it's maybe, divine timing, perfect timing, maybe, the right person, 1111, is like currently not quite available. Maybe it's just that you are have to be tested for it. There can be quite a few different reasons, guys, and really it's a long list. You have to really recognize that perspective and know that, hey, I am worthy and this is coming. It's just not yet, right? And so it kind of brought this to my attention that I decided to do this with one of my friends, and I were texting, and she was talking about, what do you think that men would like? Because, she's single as well. And when it comes to like relationships, would you think that if I was become more passionate, that would like something they want? And I was like, well, you just answered. I said, well, number one, I was like, never, ever do anything to change who you are to try to please or manifest or bring somebody else into your life, because that's that right there, that belief system that you need to do that is what your problem is. And I was like, well, yes, at the same time, it is important in life to have balance, to have your hobbies, your passions, your interests, your friends, your family, your time, your spirituality, your dreams. It is important to have a balanced life, yes. And in that balance, you should at least have one thing that you're passionate about, and everybody's is different, but you should also be passionate for your life and passionate for yourself. And yeah, I was just like, hey, that don't think like that. Like, don't think like that. Don't even do that. Because, love, a true love, genuine love, the right kind of love is not going to ask you to do anything more than just you being you. Okay? You definitely want to at least try to be the best version of yourself, but let's also be the real version of yourself, okay? If you feel that you have to change or shift something, or that you need to do more healing, or that you need to do something else in order to bring this in, you need to ask yourself why you feel like that. And that is most likely because at one point in your life, somebody or some experience or something caused you to believe that you were unlovable, or that you were not lovable or unworthy of love due to, not being able to show up in some way that was required or expected of you, or because something may not have panned out the way you expected to or wanted to, that this was affirming that you just weren't going to have it. And you need to recognize that for what it was, that that's not the case. And you need to come to peace with that for your sake and not carry that anymore. And I just wanted to say that I'm very sorry for everybody who has ever experienced that, especially if it was, multitude of things, or multiple people, multiple relationships, especially for those who may have endured that for a long, long time. Usually the good people seem to do that. And I'm sorry. And I can relate, and I've also been there, because I know I'm an imperfect person, and I know in my life's journey that I definitely probably have many times made people feel unlovable for different reasons. Maybe for some, it's because I turned, somebody down because I just wasn't interested in them. Maybe for some, because I might have been too honest. Maybe, because I was dealing with my own stuff and I couldn't be what they wanted. For the most part, I would say they definitely were never intentional, but I can't say that I'm not perfect. And I know that I have hurt people too, and it never was my intention, at least never really premeditated. And so if anybody ever did watch this and I ever did make you feel unlovable, I am truly sorry. And that I hope that you were strong enough to and able to recognize that it was never about you, that it was about me. It is really, at the end of the day, really about the other person. It's not about you. For the most part, guys. So, and I hope that it doesn't change, or I hope it didn't change anybody too drastically. We fall in love with the idea of like romance and this, this passion and sway and energy, but we forget that that's not what it's all about. If somebody cannot be able to accept you for who you truly are, at where you are at the very moment in your life that you guys, come to know each other and accept you for all that you are without ever trying to change you, then they're not the right people for you. I'm talking about friends, family, romance. It is okay to want the best for your loved ones, and you will just ultimately naturally do that. That's just how it is. But you also have to remember that you can see their potential and you can want the best, but that is not up to you. And you also have to recognize that everybody has their own heart's desires and their own dreams and passions. And maybe for some, theirs may not be what you expect or want them to be. And it doesn't mean that it can't have those things in time, or that they will. But that we need to remember that it's all about that person just simply being comfortable to just truly express themselves as they are and just being happy, however that looks for them. And you should never, ever be feeling bad for just being you. Because you know what? A lot of people don't do that. And whether this is how you express yourself outwardly to the world, or how you actually communicate, or how you love or give love or receive love, or how you process things, or, just you. I mean, and I'm sorry, man, I've been there, I've been there, or just even putting ideas in your head, like, oh, well, everybody else is experiencing this, why don't you? Or you can't have these things until blah, 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 blah. I do believe, and it is very important to really show up the best as you can if you are trying to bring in really authentic relationships of all types. But you do not have to be 100% all the time, or even at a time, in order to experience and bring those things into your life. And that's what I'm truly learning now. Like, you don't have to. We want to show up, but we don't have to. It's okay. In fact, I want you to be able to want to not always have to feel that way. I want you to be able to be like, you know what? I can go and show up in my pajamas with my hair completely a mess, no makeup on. Or I can be able to show up at my most lowest point and not be afraid or concerned about being judged, or, being lectured in some way for just simply feeling my emotions and simply just being human. I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells or not feel comfortable enough to just be my weird, quirky self at my home. Okay? If I have these things that is just me, that just is how I am, I shouldn't even have to negotiate or change those. And I don't need somebody to tell me how I should dress or how I should speak or how I should do my hair, makeup, or, question why I am silly one moment or serious the next, or tell me how I should show up in the world or what I should want out of life. Because you're not me and you're never going to be me. And I'm never going to be you. And I don't need to be you. Okay? I shouldn't be convinced that this is what I really want and not that. And no, 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 you are supposed to go over here because that's where I see you, or that's where people like you go, not over there. Your feelings don't matter. Your happiness doesn't matter. You don't matter. You need to go here because that's where you are supposed to go, or that's what people expect of you. A great example of this was, so a few weeks ago I had a tenant and she was closing out her lease with us. And she had asked me, do you have any children? And I was like, no, not yet, I said, just not yet. I think it was very simple. And she was like, oh, are you married? And I said, no, I'm not. It's just quite simple. And then she's like, pretty much, long story short, was very unexpected and unsolicited, was pretty much telling me, well, then you need to go and down to Orange County and hang out by Newport Beach and, hang out with some of the wealthier people, and you'll find somebody that's going to be able to provide you a nice, secure financial life. And I was like, fantastic, but that's not what I want. I don't want that. None of that stuff is what I want. And I was like, I don't need to have somebody take care of me financially. I don't want to live in Orange County. I don't need, anything but simply love. And I even told her, I said, it was kind of funny because I was very serious and genuine. And I was like, but I want love. And she's like, nobody gets married for that now these days. And I remember my sister was like, what the heck? And then she just started going on and on and on about telling that, people like me need to be ended up like that. And, just have somebody take care of you, and just blah, 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 blah. And, as much as she thought she was looking out for me, she really wasn't. And then she started getting upset because I wasn't listening to her, but I was actually working. And number two, it was not something I was interested in and didn't ask about because it's not something I want. And, we have to remember that. Everybody's going to want the best for everybody. Okay, that's, it's not a bad thing, and you can definitely share, if you are asked or when needed, advice or problem solving, of course, you should be able to go up to people that you trust to open up to for support, but never, ever, ever, ever tell somebody to not be themselves or want what they want or try to change them or dismiss them in some sort, because that's not fair to them and that's not what you would want to experience. Ultimately, when that happens to us, it tells us that we don't know what we are worthy, or that we cannot achieve that, or that you are not important, or you're not happy, or your happiness isn't important, or that I know, I hear you, but I don't care because this is what I think you should do. This is what I want for you. And ultimately that feeds into low self-esteem and low self-worth and a feeling of not worthy and lack of love. And it's best to recognize when those things happen and to either address them or set boundaries, or to distance yourself completely from people who are not able to respect that. And it can really hurt, and sometimes it can take a long time to get over that. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to tell you guys, if you are out there, you're not the only one, and you are lovable. Okay, and I'm talking about everything, every single thing, just the way you are at your home and everything. Somebody is going to love you out there. If it hasn't happened yet, because, that person is just simply waiting to meet you. And you need to love yourself, fall in love with yourself. Okay, because you are very much amazing, lovable. And it's hard, we don't always get to do that. There are days where we don't love ourselves. And it's going to be, it's a constant thing you have to redo, but it's also like relationships. But why wouldn't somebody want you? So what? If you have your little, quirks, or so who cares if you like to do this? Or, you know, I am fascinating. I am lovable. Like, you know, that person's rejection, or that person's blah, 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 has nothing to do with me. Okay. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard to recognize those things, because sometimes people, you know, say the right things, or they do things that make you believe that you are receiving love, but ultimately you aren't. And you definitely should recognize those signs, and they can be for so many different ways and so many different relationships and reasons. And that is just too much. Um, but I guess like some examples would be like, if somebody would be like, oh, why would you like say something like that? Or why did you like act like that? Or why you know, I'm glad that we don't, why did you like do a silly picture? I wanted something like this. Like, I don't have like social media so I can post this. Or, when you like ask, hey, I need this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I hear you, but I'm not going to do anything about it. And then you just never hear back, and you're like, but I asked this. So like, I wouldn't ask this unless I need that. And it's like, so you're pretty much saying, I heard you, but I'm going to do my own thing. Or another example could be like, a great example is when people try to tell you how to dress. If you are not dressing in any way that's provocative or extremely offensive, and I'm talking about, there is no reason why anybody should ever tell you how to dress, especially after you're 18 years old. There's no reason why anybody should tell you how to express yourself outwardly in the world, or how you communicate, or what you can and cannot do or be, as long as it's not in a negative self-harm way. Another example is when you are at like, a emotional or state, or, a time that's very difficult. And, we are, as humans, we have feelings and we experience things and process things different. Everybody's different. And instead of being, comforted or supported, you are made bad or ashamed for just being you, and that you are told that you are too much, or that you need to, heal, you need to figure out the work, and that, they might distance themselves. There's a lot of different examples. If anybody ever tells you, well, I like you, on these days, or I liked you like when you showed up like this, or if you were just a little bit more skinnier, or if you just were like this or that, I don't hear that I like you now. If people only show up when you're able to give them something, or when you're, at a certain place, or high, vibing at a certain, frequency. If people only show up during certain parts or phases of your life. If people cannot fully communicate with you or open up to you, or take the time to understand you and why, even if they cannot. If somebody is not willing to stick with you through anything or any relationship, or is too scared to walk through the fire with you, or face your demons with you, or want to work things out, or, then you guys, please, I hope you do know that you deserve better. And hey, I'm right there. Like, guys, I'm right there. And it sucks, because it's taken me a long time to realize that. And like I said, there are a lot of times where they are actually really, really good people, and they just, for whatever reason, they're just not for you. And they may not have even known the intent or pain, or, reaffirming the less worthiness or lack of love that it caused you. And it's life, guys, and it's human, but there comes a point, though, where you do have to ask yourself, it's like, wait a minute, if I've done everything right, why am I still experiencing this? And, maybe ask yourself if there's something that you've been carrying with you all along that could be not your highest good. Because, people's opinions and beliefs and expectations of you may not always be in your best favor, even if it was meant well. And so take the time to, do some inventory check and, ask yourself, is there anything that doesn't resonate with me no more? Or is there, like any reason why I feel this way or would be concerned? Really look at your past relationships, see if there's a pattern there. This comes from the question of, are you going to tolerate living the rest of your life this, or do you want something more? Okay, no, we cannot choose the timing of which that comes in or the person and stuff, but we can choose to recognize and to stop those patterns and negative cycles to be able to make room to bring, what we want into our alignment. Because not every single day that people are willing to love all of you for who you are and all your amazing, magnetic magnificence, and it's very, 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 very few in between. And it takes a long time for somebody to want to, really work with you guys. A long time. And if you do find yourself with somebody like that, you should definitely keep them, for sure. Myself, personally, right now, I'm actually working through perfectionism. It's called protective perfectionist. And as much as perfectionism I thought was good, it's actually not, because it actually really, really hurts your romantic relationships. And it makes sense because I was always told, well, I'm not perfect, or why are you so picky, or, or I would always understand. I would always be like, why am I acting like this? I thought I did the work. And ultimately, the problem here with perfectionism, which I can do, which I'm still going through this, and I'm going to always go through this, is nothing in life or no one is ever perfect. And so right then and there, you're setting yourself up for failure, okay? Nothing is going to ever be perfect. So you need to let that go. And what the protective perfectionist does, it will use, experiences or, take triggers, or what it does ultimately is when things don't align or show up or match in the way that you would have wanted to or expect them to be received, which is the perfectionism part of yourself, then the protective side of that goes, this isn't for you, you need to back away, they don't care about you, blah, 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 blah. And so it puts walls up, and it's alerting you, hey, no, this is not good for you, right? We need to get away from this. I'm here to protect you. And so the perfectionism, they should have been here. I'm going to follow that. I'm going to listen to the protective side of me. And so that will, in examples, will show up as, you expected somebody to show up or be there for you at a certain way or a certain time, and it just didn't, because that's life. And so ultimately you push them away or block them in some sort, however you respond. And that's because you went into your protective perfectionism mode, right? And you keep reaffirming yourself, if it was meant to be, this wouldn't have even happened. They wouldn't have never allowed this to happen, blah, 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 blah. I'm saving you. Trust me, I'm listening, okay? And so when, this continues, over and over, ultimately it's going to either hinder a relationship or end a relationship. And so when that does happen, the protective perfectionist is see, I told you they weren't the right one for you. I knew better. look at that. They hurt you. I was trying to protect you. And so you're kind of confused because you're like, I don't get why this happened. And then, it affirms that maybe I did something wrong, maybe I'm unworthy, maybe I'm not unlovable. And then it feeds into low self-esteem. And it's a vicious cycle because you're confused, like, maybe I am. Maybe I should listen to my protective person. They were right. I was wrong. I shouldn't. And it's just a continuous cycle. And it's always going to be away until you recognize that. And so you have to be like, hey, wait a minute. No, 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 no. You're not protecting me. You're actually trying to keep me away from what I want. And that I am not unworthy, that I just overreacted, And so that's kind of what, like, a good example I would say in regards to that. And of course, there are a plethora of things like how you handle it, your triggers are, etc., etc. Another example is love languages. Mine is quality time. And so it doesn't matter what somebody does unless they give me their time. I will never be able to accept or experience love because ultimately that's how I receive it. Which I actually found out that every single love language stems from something from your childhood. And so I will not share what mine means, but it was quite interesting. And so, it's also just taking time to really understand that and just show up for that. Real love isn't asking for anything more from you, but instead it's being able to try to understand you, to be able to give and want the best for you guys. And so that was kind of my message for you guys. I know it's a lot, it's really deep, but I think that it's going to really help out. And once you do recognize that, it is going to be a game changer in how you see yourself in the world. And like, you will wake up with a whole renewed sense of yourself and life and purpose. And it's going to be a huge weight off your shoulders. Okay, guys. So thank you guys. And I hope that you're able to get something out of this. And please share this with somebody who will benefit. And Moo Moo says hello. And so does Olympia. And just know that you are amazing. And everybody and anybody's going to be so lucky to have you guys. So, bye. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you have not yet, click that subscribe button below to be notified when I post new content. If you're interested in contacting me, please visit the channel page. Much love always, Jenna.